A hotel maid stops a billionaire from entering his suite. But it's not just about plumbing. That one decision unravels a 15-year-old lie, a fake death, a kidnapped son, and a twisted revenge plot led by a man who was supposed to be dead. What she overheard behind that door wasn't just dangerous. It was the beginning of a war for her family's future. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Make sure to watch this video till the end, because in the final moments, you'll see the journey from an entirely new perspective. Now let's jump into the story. Lena Morrigan pushed her cleaning cart down the 11th floor hallway of the Grand Meridian Hotel, her worn shoes silent against the polished marble. She knew this corridor like the back of her hand. Same gold-trimmed doors, same scent of air, freshener masking wealth and secrets. She was used to being invisible here. At 43, Lena had mastered the quiet art of not being noticed. Her movements were smooth, her eyes always down. People didn't look at the maid. That's how she stayed, safe. It had been 5 years since she'd started over in this city, and not once had she slipped up. Not once had she let her old life show. Until tonight. The hallway was mostly empty, save for a couple of late-night room service trays waiting to be picked up. Outside room 1108, the penthouse, Lena slowed her steps. The door was cracked open slightly, which was unusual. Guests at this level didn't leave their doors ajar. Ever. Then she heard a voice. A woman's voice. Smooth, sharp, calculated. You'll add it to his tea. Just like we practiced, the woman said. He drinks it every night, just after his flight. We do this now or we lose everything. Lena froze. She recognized that voice. Valeria Sterling. Glamorous. Charming. The wife of Draven Holt, a billionaire tech tycoon, the man who built half the skyline and funded the other half. Lena didn't mean to listen. But once she heard that name, Draven, her feet locked to the floor like they were bolted down. Her heart thudded like it knew something her brain didn't. Want to process, don't worry, Valeria continued. He'll be exhausted. One sip and it'll look like heart failure. Peaceful, painless, no questions. Then came another voice. Male. Colder. This has to be clean. No mistakes this time. The foundation transfer happens in the morning. If he's dead, everything falls into place. Lena's hand shook on the mop handle. That voice, Jonas Hale. She hadn't heard his name in years, but the sound of it brought everything rushing back. Memories she tried to bury. Lies she'd been forced to live with. And the deal she made to keep her son, Theo, safe. Jonas was the reason she was here, pretending to be someone she wasn't. The reason she disappeared from her real life 5 years ago. He had something over her, something she couldn't ignore. Theo's life. For 5 long years, Lena had stayed silent, followed orders, kept her head down. Just a maid, just cleaning floors and disappearing into the background. But this was too much. They were planning to murder Draven Holt. Her Draven. No one knew that name meant something different to her. Years ago, before Valeria, before the suits and the stock markets, Draven Holt had been hers. His real name was Jamie. They were young, reckless, and in love. But fate had other plans. Lena got pregnant. His family didn't approve. And then, just as things started to work out, Jonas came into their lives with promises and threats. The past she thought she buried was standing right behind that door. Draven was coming home tonight. He'd drink that tea and he'd die. Unless she stopped him. She took a shaky breath. Her brain screamed at her to walk away, to keep quiet. Theo was still out there alive, but only because Jonas let him be. If she blew her cover now, if Jonas found out she interfered, her son would be in danger. But if she did nothing, Draven would be gone, murdered by the woman sleeping next to him, the woman who had replaced her. Lena glanced at the elevator, at the end of the hallway. Any moment now, Draven would step out. She didn't have much time. Her heart raced, Her mind battled between fear and something stronger. Love. Love that hadn't died even after all these years. Love that burned quietly behind the mop and cleaning cart. She heard the elevator ding, footsteps, a suitcase rolling across the polished floor. And then he turned the corner, Draven Holt, older, sharper, but still the same deep brown eyes. The same thoughtful frown. He didn't recognize her, of course. Why would he? Lena Morrigan looked nothing like the girl he once loved, but he was walking straight toward that door. Toward Poison. She had to speak. Now. "Excuse me, sir," she said, louder than she meant to. Draven slowed. His hand hovered near his keycard. Lena took a step forward. "There's a plumbing issue in your suite. Maintenance advised no one should enter tonight." He frowned. "I wasn't told." "Last minute." "It's serious," she lied, her voice cracking slightly. He studied her. Something in his face shifted. "Do I know you?" he asked. Quiet now. "No, sir," she said quickly, eyes down. Draven hesitated, then slowly stepped away from the door. "All right. Can you help me find another room?" Lena nodded, barely breathing. Behind them, the door creaked open a bit, more. She could feel Valeria watching. The first move had been made, but the game was just beginning. Lena hadn't slept. The small clock on her nightstand blinked 6:12 a.m. She sat on the edge of her bed, still in the same work clothes from the night before, hands wrapped tightly around a mug of now-cold coffee. Her studio apartment was quiet except for the hum of traffic outside and the distant bark of her neighbor's dog. But Lena's thoughts were anything but quiet. She had done it. She had stopped Draven Holt, her Draven, from walking into that suite. She had saved his life. For now. But at what cost? She knew Jonas would find out. He always did. Jonas Hale had a network of eyes, ears, and shadowy favors in every corner of the city. He wasn't just dangerous, he was calculated, ruthless. And now, probably very angry. A soft knock on the door jolted her out of her thoughts. No, not a knock. A thud. A firm, no-nonsense pounding. The kind that didn't wait for permission. Lena froze. She crept toward the peephole. On the other side stood 3 men in dark suits. Their faces were unreadable. One wore a small earpiece. Another stood by a black SUV parked at the curb. They weren't police. They were something else. Then she saw him, Draven. He stood behind them, dressed in casual slacks and a jacket. He looked tired, alert, curious. "Ma'am," one of the suited men called through the door. "Mr. Holt would like a word." Lena's breath caught in her throat. This was it. No more hiding, no more pretending. She opened the door slowly. "May I come in?" Draven asked gently. She nodded, stepping aside. The security men didn't follow. They stayed posted like statues, outside her apartment. Draven walked in and glanced around. The place was neat but humble. A single window let in pale morning light. The air smelled faintly of lavender and cleaning supplies. "I owe you," he said, turning to face her. "That lie about the plumbing, you saved my life." Lena nodded but said nothing. "I had the tea tested," he added. There were traces of poison, not a mild one either. The lab called it instantly lethal. He paused. "Now here's what I can't figure out. How did a janitor know about that?" Lena's hands trembled as she set her coffee down. "I overheard something," she said quietly. "Through the door." "You said it was plumbing," he replied, a hint of tension in his voice. "I lied," she admitted. "Because I didn't think you'd believe the truth." Draven stepped closer, looking at her more closely now. His brow furrowed. "There's something familiar about you," he said, his voice lowering. "Your eyes. Your voice." Lena looked away. "It's nothing. I just did what I had to." "No." He took another step. "That voice. I've heard it before. Not recently. Years ago. Lena swallowed hard. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Who are you? Draven asked softly. Who really are you? She turned toward the window, the morning light catching her face. Then she said it, barely louder than a whisper. My name used to be Callie Devlin. Draven froze. For a long moment, neither of them said anything. Then his voice cracked. No, that's not possible. Lena turned, tears welling in her eyes. I had to disappear, Draven. Jonas made sure of that. He stumbled back like she had struck him. Callie, he said again, softer now. But you died. The fire. I escaped, she said. Through the back door. It was all staged. Jonas threatened Theo. He said if I didn't vanish, he'd kill him. Draven's face turned pale. Theo? Your son? Our son, she said, voice breaking. A storm of emotion flashed across his face. Shock, rage, disbelief, sorrow. I thought I lost you both, he said. You almost did. Draven sat heavily on the worn couch. So all this time, you were alive. Working in my hotel. Watching me. She nodded. He ran a hand through his hair. And Valeria? She's involved with Jonas? She's the one who poured the poison, Draven. Lena whispered. I heard it myself. She's in on it, and Jonas, and he's planning something bigger. You weren't just a target, you're a step in a plan. One that ends with him in control of everything you built. Draven stood up, his expression hardening. I want the truth, all of it from the beginning. Lena nodded. Then you'd better sit down. But before she could begin, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. Interesting night, Lena. We need to talk. You know where. 1 hour. Draven read it over her shoulder. His jaw tightened. Jonas, he said grimly. Lena's hands trembled. If I don't show up, he'll know. And if he knows, I betrayed him. He'll go after Theo, Draven finished. We can't let that happen. She looked at him, tears in her eyes. I'm scared, she whispered. He nodded slowly. So am I, but we face this together now. The old train station sat at the edge of the city, where rust met silence. Its brick walls were cracked and stained, covered in layers of graffiti. The windows were broken, like jagged glass teeth. No trains had passed through in over a decade. That made it the perfect place for a secret meeting. Lena stood just outside, her breath fogging in the cold morning air. She wore a black coat, pulled tight around her, and a wool cap to hide her face. Her nerves were shot. She kept glancing over her shoulder, waiting for movement in the shadows. Through the tiny earpiece hidden in her ear, Draven's voice crackled softly. Stay calm. We've got eyes on every exit. I don't feel calm, Lena whispered. You're not alone this time. She took a breath and stepped into the station. It smelled of rust, old wood, and dust. Her footsteps echoed against the concrete floor as she walked deeper into the wide, empty space. Then she saw him. Jonas Hale stood near a column, tall and still, wearing a long gray coat and black gloves. His silver hair was slicked back, his eyes cold and calculating. He smiled. That same smile she remembered from years ago. The one that always meant danger. Right on time, he said. Lena kept her voice steady. What do you want? Oh, come now, you already know. Jonas circled her slowly like a shark. Last night didn't go as planned. You interfered, and I'm giving you one chance to explain why. I panicked, she lied. Too much risk. I didn't think Valeria could pull it off. He raised an eyebrow. That's unlike you, Lena. You've followed orders for 5 years without a single slip. Suddenly you grow a conscience? Lena didn't answer. Jonas pulled something from his coat pocket. A small tablet. He tapped the screen. A video started playing. Lena's heart dropped. It was Theo. He sat in a plain room, furnished, clean, but clearly not home. He looked older now, his hair longer, his eyes dull. He was reading a book, trying to look calm. But Lena knew her son's face, and she saw the fear behind his eyes. "You remember him, don't you?" Jonas said softly. "I've taken good care of him, fed, educated, watched closely." "You're sick," Lena muttered. "No," Jonas said, stepping closer. "I'm efficient, I get what I want, and you're going to help me do that." He pulled up another screen. A blueprint. "This is Draven's estate," he said. "I want the codes, the patrol shifts, the safe access, everything." Lena stared at him. "Why now?" "Because Draven's starting to suspect too much," Jonas said, his voice sharp. "And Valeria? She's losing control. He needs to be removed, cleanly, legally. Once he's gone, everything transfers. I walk away with full access, and you walk away with your son." Lena's chest ached. Jonas leaned in, voice low and deadly. "Refuse, and I erase him. From this world. No more videos. No more hope. Just silence." She clenched her fists, digging her nails into her palms. "I need time," she whispered. "You have until midnight." He turned and walked into the shadows, leaving her alone with the echo of threats and the weight of choice. Outside the station, Lena's legs barely held her up. Draven and his team were already waiting near a black van parked behind the tracks. "What did he say?" Draven asked, voice tight. Lena's eyes burned with tears. "He has Theo. He's alive. But Jonas wants access to everything. Your estate, your accounts." Draven's jaw tightened. "Did he show you a location? A blueprint, a video feed?" Theo looked, okay. Not hurt, just watched. Agent Kellen, Draven's head of security, stepped forward. "Did he say where the feed came from?" "No," Lena said, wiping her face. "But he mentioned midnight, and he's running out of patience." Draven looked at her. "You did great." "I feel like I'm falling apart," she whispered. "You held it together," he said gently. "You bought us time. Now we use it." Inside the van, the team reviewed the video frame by frame. A lamp, a wallpaper pattern, a faint sound in the background. "Birds. Rural," Kellen said. "Possibly near a lake. That wallpaper matches a cabin listed under one of Jonas's old aliases, northern edge of the state, used for retreats." "We go in tonight," Draven said. Lena's hands trembled. "What if it's a trap?" "It is a trap," Kellen replied. "But now, he doesn't know we know." Draven looked at Lena with something fierce in his eyes. "You gave him a fake version of us," he said. "Now we show him the real one." Lena looked out across the empty field beyond the tracks. She had played her part. Now the final move was coming. And it had to be checkmate. The lake was still. Not a ripple moved across its glassy surface as the sky faded from gray to deep blue. Tall pines stood like quiet sentries along the water's edge, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. Tucked between the trees, barely visible from the air, was a small wooden house. One floor, wide porch, simple roof. From above, it looked peaceful. But inside, behind drawn curtains, a young man sat on a worn couch, flipping through a weathered book. His name was Theo Devlin. He had his mother's eyes, sharp, alert, always searching. He didn't know help was minutes away. He didn't know this night would change everything. Lena crouched in the back of the van, watching the live drone footage. On a small screen, she saw the cabin from above. She saw movement inside. She saw her son. "He's there," she whispered. "That's him." Draven stood beside her, his face tight with focus. "We have a team in position. We go in fast. And clean, no chances." Kellen, the head of security, gave a final nod to the team. 3 guards spotted, 2 outside, 1 inside, standard weapons. They're not expecting company. Draven turned to Lena. "You stay here." She looked up at him. "No. Lena, this could get dangerous. He's my son. I'm not sitting this one out." Draven studied her face, then nodded. "You go in with me, but stay behind cover. No heroics." Lena nodded. "Deal." The helicopter landed half a mile away. The team moved through the trees in silence, boots barely crunching the leaves beneath them. Night vision goggles lit their path. The lake house glowed ahead, warm lights against the cool shadows of the forest. Draven signaled to split. 2 units flanked the cabin. Then, go! In one swift motion, the team stormed in, doors kicked, guards tackled, guns lowered in surrender. Draven and Lena rushed inside. And there, in the corner of the room, Theo stood frozen. He clutched the book like a shield, unsure whether to run or speak. Lena stopped in her tracks. Her breath caught. "Theo?" she said, barely able to get the word out. He looked at her, confused. "Careful." "Who?" She took off her hat, her coat, let the years fall from her shoulders. "It's me," she said. "It's Mom." Theo blinked, once, twice. His lips parted, and then he ran to her. Lena dropped to her knees, arms wide. When he hit her chest, she broke into sobs. His arms wrapped around her tightly, like he was afraid to let go. "I knew," he said through tears. "I knew you weren't gone." "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I left." Draven watched from a few feet away. His eyes were wet, but his smile was proud. Theo finally looked up. "You're Draven Holt?" Draven laughed softly. "That's what they call me now. But to you, if you'll let me, I'm your father." Theo stared for a long second, then gave a small smile. I always knew that too." Back in the city, a quiet storm was forming. The information Lena recorded from Jonas was now in the hands of the authorities. His safe houses, bank accounts, even connections to powerful figures. It was all coming down. But Jonas himself was still out there. Until now. That night, an anonymous tip led authorities to a downtown apartment under a false name. Inside, Jonas, Hale was caught attempting to flee the country. He didn't resist, he only smiled like he'd been waiting for this moment. "You win," he said as they cuffed him. "But don't think the game is over." He was wrong. Weeks later, in a quiet park just outside the city, Lena, Draven, and Theo sat together on a wooden bench. Ducks floated lazily across a nearby pond. Spring was coming, and the air was soft with hope. Theo was back in school. Draven had stepped down from his company temporarily. Lena had moved into a small house near the lake, one with a porch and flowers out front. Their lives weren't perfect, but they were real. And they were together. "You know," Theo said, glancing at his parents, "we should do something with this." "Do what?" Draven asked. "Help people," Theo said. "People like us. Families that got torn apart. People who disappeared and never came back." Lena smiled. "Like a foundation?" "Yeah," Theo said. "To show that even the worst moments don't have to define you, that you can survive. Even after all of it." Draven nodded slowly. "Then let's do it." Lena reached out and took their hands. "Let's call it," she said. "The Second Chance Project." Theo grinned. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't revenge at all, it's healing, it's forgiveness, it's choosing love even after everything.